Enshrouded is an open-world survival action RPG that can either be played solo or co-op up to 16 players, in which you take on the role of a flameborn, the last flicker of hope for a world consumed by a deadly corrupting mist called the Shroud. In this game, you'll hunt down the souls of other flameborn who will become NPCs you can interact with for crafting various equipment and materials, as well as receive quests. You'll build multiple bases across Enshrouded's huge world, utilising what's widely considered as being one of the most in-depth building systems in the survival RPG genre. Hunt down epic bosses, solve puzzles as you make your way to the top of giant spires, and navigate the Shroud to cleanse the corrupted shroudroots, which reward you with skill points. TLDR, level up, craft ever more powerful gear, complete quests, solve puzzles, uncover the world map, explore all the POIs, and build an epic base full of NPCs. Enshrouded initially came to Steam Early Access back in January 2024, and I absolutely loved this game when I first tried it over a year ago. I made 2 videos for the game back then, a first impressions and a full review. In this video, I'll be revisiting Enshrouded in 2025 to see what's changed so far during its early access, as well as talk about the newest, Update 6, Thralls of Twilight, which brought some fundamental improvements to the core gameplay experience. This video is sponsored by Keen Games, so if you like what you see, then click the link in the description below to buy Enshrouded now. First, let's talk about Thralls of Twilight, Enshrouded's 6th major update. First up, this update brings with it a new weapon upgrading system. Elite enemies will now drop loot in the form of weapon gems that you'll be able to slot into weapons that have gem slots for unique effects. To do this, you'll need to venture into the Shroud with your fully upgraded weapon, some crafting mats, in this case I used Archaic Essence, and your gem of choice. Find the new workstation called the Shroud Forge, which can only be found inside the Shroud, and insert your gem into your weapon. Additionally, you also have the option to upgrade your gems for better stats or recycle them for resources. Thralls of Twilight has also brought some massive changes and variety to the Shroud in the form of new enemies, new crafting resources, POIs, and much more. This is great to hear, as I remember some of my critique for Enshrouded back during its early access launch was that there wasn't a whole lot of mob variety or unique POIs, especially in the Shroud. Now, however, it's had a lot of love and it's packed full of things to discover. When it comes to resources and recipes found within the Shroud, this new update brings with it 28 new crafting resources which unlock new recipes, armor tinting palettes which allow you to change the color of your equipment via a new crafter that can be placed in your base called the Coloring Station, new terrain materials, new channel spells in the form of Shroud Beam and Heal Beam. They've finally added a repair kit to the game so you can fix your gear whilst you're out adventuring. This is something I'm specifically happy about, as I remember back at launch I was constantly complaining about how quickly your weapon durability degrades. Other than that, you've got confusion grenades, curse cures, and most notably 3 new Shroud themed craftable armor sets that are crafted using resources exclusively found in Shroud areas. Previously, it was fair to say that the Shroud lacked enemy diversity, but in Thralls of Twilight that's much less of an issue. Now you've got flying jellies, both medium and large in size, floating around like nightmares, the Predator elite enemy, the Critter Queen which births an army of offspring to overwhelm you, tentacle brain monsters, fog nest drone, the calcified melee fogger which has a low chance to apply a curse debuff to you. This can be cured with the curse cure potion I mentioned earlier, and most notably, when it comes to farming those valuable Shroud enemy drops, you've also now got interactive enemy spawners which can be used for farming elites. But what would the addition of new enemies be without also adding new gameplay features and Shroud locations to really spice things up? Silver level reward chests can now be found within the Shroud to incentivize exploration. There's now exploding Shroud barrels and Shroud spores with new tiers for late game, destructible slime barricades, and even Shroud versions of jump pads and muddy terrain to mix up navigation. As for locations, there's 42 new POIs called Shroud nests with unique terrain and resources, 29 summoning stones where you can trigger enemy spawns for elite farming, 22 new abandoned Shroud ruins for that creepy explorer vibe, and 15 shroud forges for socketing those weapon gems I mentioned previously. The shroud wasn't the only part of the world to receive some love though. Enshrouded's visuals have also seen some big improvements, with denser clouds and improvements to global illumination that make the world look more immersive and realistic than ever, with god rays piercing through the environment. Non-shroud areas of the world have had significant reworks, particularly in the Nomad Highlands and Kindle Wastes, which now have landscapes with more realistic terrains, new trees and vegetation, and more detailed POIs. The steppes and desert areas have better visuals and topography, caves, settlements and underground spots look sharper, smoother transition areas into the shroud, and you've also got new Volker and scavenger camps. There's also a new survivor to rescue, Elio the Barber, who will join your settlement and finally allow you to have a full makeover if you're bored of the look that you picked when you first created your world. Next, let's talk about what I consider to be the biggest fundamental change that will affect your gameplay experience in Enshrouded: the new nighttime gameplay. Previously, nighttime was pretty much just for sleeping. It didn't really offer any unique gameplay other than limited visibility. Now, however, there's specific content, monsters and resources added in the newest update that's only accessible at nighttime. First, let's talk about nighttime temporary shroud areas. This is dynamic content with exclusive rewards such as rare crafting mats, weapon gems, or silver chests that only appear at night. Night shrouds dissipate either at dawn or when the fell group of enemies at the source are defeated, making this a temporary opportunity and an incentive for not just sleeping through the night. Other than that, 16 new temples containing various challenges, puzzles and loot have been added to the game that are locked behind a night door that only opens at nighttime. Here you can obtain exclusive cosmetics in the form of the day theme and night theme outfits. Expect to see roaming enemy patrols at nighttime, as well as pack wolves and a new set of consumables, food and gatherables in the form of plants and insects that you'll also only see at nighttime. So that pretty much summarizes the recent Thralls of Twilight update, but if you're like me and haven't played since the early access launch over a year ago, you're also going to notice some other absolutely huge changes. I'll try to keep this concise because this video would be 30 minutes long if I listed everything, but in the past year we've seen the addition of 2 new biomes. You've got the swamp themed area of Blackmire and the snowy mountains of the Albaneve summits. Each of these places brought their own unique enemies, resources and places to explore, with the Albaneve summits being particularly harsh to navigate, with players needing to craft warm armor just to survive and also navigate through blizzards. New gameplay systems include difficulty sliders that allow you to fully customize the balancing of your world, adjust XP rates, enemy health, enemy damage, day and night duration, loot amount, and much more. Enchanting was added to the game, animal husbandry was added, so now you can raise livestock. There was a metric crap ton of building options added to expand upon what was already considered an S-tier building system, and NPCs can now roam around and require a bed to sleep in, which makes it feel like you're building your very own village. Other than that, the level cap was raised to 35, new quests, new items, new POIs, new bosses, voice chat was added, and you'll likely notice that the gameplay is now more smoother than it was back during the early access launch. As for my experience returning to Enshrouded in 2025, when I booted the game back up, I was happy to see that my world, my base, and everything in it was exactly how I left it the last time I played. I was surprised though when the NPCs started walking around, sleeping in my bed, sleeping on the floor, and asking for shelter. I think it's super cool that I now feel the need to make a full village for the NPCs now rather than just a small functional cottage. I noticed that with so many crafting recipes being added to the game, taking things out of my storage often resulted in new recipe unlocks. And with so many new POIs, early game quests and locations to discover, it wasn't long before I realised that to have the best experience as a returning player, it would probably be best that I start a new world and do a fresh playthrough, as to not get completely overwhelmed. So that's what I'm doing now, replaying through the game, enjoying all the new stuff it has to offer with the goal of building a nice, cozy, neatly organised village for me and my NPCs. Overall, I think if you enjoyed Enshrouded in the past, you'll definitely enjoy it more now because it's a much larger game with more variety, customization, content, and better visuals. One thing I was a bit disappointed in seeing is that you can still do the gold chest relog trick, as well as the escape to main menu relog to instantly get out of the shroud, but I hope this will get fixed in future updates. Speaking of future updates, there's an updated roadmap on the Enshrouded Steam page where you can see everything that's planned, in progress, and completed for 2025. Keen Games are aiming for the 1.0 release for spring 2026, which will include a console release and a creative mode, so I'll definitely be covering Enshrouded again for the 1.0. But that's it for this video. I hope it helps you get all caught up with Enshrouded in 2025, and a big shout out to the developers for sponsoring me to revisit their game. Click the link in the description below to buy Enshrouded now, and let me know in the comments what you think about the game in its current state, as well as your hopes for the full release. Social media on screen, help us out with a like for the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.